The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. Apparently, there was a problem with the audio. Now you should be able to hear me. If you could please confirm through the chat or the question box, it would be great. Thank you. All right, looks like it's working. Okay, I think we can resume. All right, so I guess I was speaking to myself for a few minutes there, but let's rewind. So welcome again for joining me today. Today we are going to have another of our webinar event. Together with me is Rainer Hotter from the technical support team. I am Davide Mortillano, will be delivering this presentation today. So we're gonna dive a little bit into what Maya 2020 introduced as an installation standpoint, and we're gonna give a little bit of an overview and what does this mean for the deployment and installation of other software. So for those of you who are new to our webinar platform, usually we give a small overview of installation and licensing deployment subjects regarding the Autodesk software. As always, I will give a small presentation with a slideshow and a small demo, and we always dedicate some time at the end of the presentation for question and answer. But you can always ask any question in case you have any during the presentation through the question box, and my colleague Rainer today will take care of those. This presentation will be shared with you after this webinar, so you will get a follow-up email with a link to the PowerPoint and the video recording of this webinar. In the presentation itself, you can see a link where upcoming webinars are posted, and so you can schedule your time ahead to attend. And always a shout out to our YouTube channel, Autodesk Installation and Licensing, where we post regularly new content for your consultation. So hit like and subscribe to stay up to date, if you will. So let's get into the topic. So in case you have not had experience with the latest release of Maya, Maya 2020 was released back in December, a few weeks before Christmas, more or less. And the real news is that introduced a new installer, which is radically different from what you might expect from old installers from Autodesk. It's called OTIS, which stands for On-Demand Installation Services, and it really captures the nature of the installer in a way that is quicker and more flexible to customize and to run on your user's machine. It is cross-platform compatible, so you get the same experience either you're installing on Windows, on Mac, or on Linux. It is quicker because it is built in a way that you have several components within the installation, but they are divided for, let's say, priority. So you will have a core component, like for example, Maya 2020, and then additional components like Arnold Render, Bifrost, and the rest of the dependencies that are included in the bundle itself. So the core component, it's the main part of the installation, and the cool thing is that once the core component is installed, you can already launch the installation as soon as that's ready. So you can launch the installation, and in the background, the installation would still continue with the rest of the components. So that's why it's called on demand. You can launch it right away while you're still deploying it. So the way it's also built is that the installation is a separate part of the bundle. So we'll have the chance to update the installation framework itself with the new releases. So it will always be used for new installation with new improvements and bug fixes. And of course, it can also be deployed. It could be done for a single deployment, and soon it will also be compatible with multiple product deployment. So this is more or less the new features that we have. The good part is that we have now a clean, not only OTIS supports a clean install on a Windows environment, but will also do so on a Mac and Linux environments. It will be able to roll back in a cleanly fashion, so it will not leave behind any files or traces of the software, even mid-installation. And you can always relaunch the installation later to add or remove components from the product. It has a more clear way of handling installation errors, and it will always check if the package itself is digitally signed. So these are all features that are introduced with this new installer. So this is more or less how it looks like. We are going to run a demo so you can see it live. Apart from the new UI and a more streamlined process, it really helps you getting up and ready for your users real fast. On average, Maya gets installed in around 5-10 minutes, at least the core component, and after that, it's ready to be used. So this is more or less a workflow of how it works. So I said after installing the core, the product can be launched, and in the meantime, the essential and the optional components will be installed in the background. So the main difference between the new OTIS and the old installer, if you're familiar with the old installer, is the so-called manifest. So in the past, you'd tweak the setup INI in the old installer to change your installation or to remove components and so on. Here, we don't have a setup INI, we have a so-called manifest. We'll see in detail how this is built, but generally the structure of the manifest is exactly the structure of the core components, the optional components, and the dependencies. So the manifest usually will show what's included in that bundle, and it will show what's a core component or a core application, in this case is Maya, what's an optional application that can be removed to an installation, and then also the dependencies. Each application, so whether a core application or an optional application, will have its own core and essential package. That means that, for example, in this case for Maya, a core package would be the Maya MSI, and you would see here, it would be the licensing component. Without those, you cannot install Maya. So as long as core application and the correspondent core packages are installed, you can run Maya. The rest is non-essential. Like, for example, you can install Maya without Arnold, without Bifrost, and that's totally possible. So that's really the structure that shows how it's built in. So how does a manifest look like? So usually you can see, you would see a difference between a manifest and a setup INI, and I can show you more or less how it looks like that. The manifest is basically an XML file, and each component is displayed with tags within the XML file. So it's as easy as modify an XML file. In the setup INI, you had to find the code and then go look for the specific part in the setup INI and remove it completely. Here is just, if you want to remove a component, you can just go and remove that line from there. It's basically much easier to read and modify. Perhaps I can show you real quick the manifest. So this is the installation folder of Maya 2020. So you would see already that there are fewer folders and files. What we are interested in is the XML file. So there are several XML files within the installation package, but the main one would be the setup XML, which wraps the installation bundle. You could see that there are several information here, and it could look a little bit daunting to go through, but it's really easy. It's usually divided in 4 portions: the identity portion, perhaps I can show you, the resources portion, configuration, and applications. So the identity portion usually it's just general information regarding the package, the bundle itself, the version, and the UPI2 code, this is very important. We'll see it also later. It's related to, it could be used during command line installation and uninstall. The resources portion, it's just the resources that are used by the installer itself. The configuration, again, it's settings. It just includes settings related to languages and for updates. This is later used for, especially for updates. But the part that we are really interested in is the applications portion. So you could have one or more of these application lines. And you could see here what is flagged as core, Maya in this case, and what is flagged as optional. We have Arnold, we have Bifrost, and we have Substance. So as said, we could easily remove these 3 lines in case we just want Maya, and the installation we just install Maya 2020. Each of these application lines will refer to a different XML. So remember what I said, we will have different manifests. Each manifest is linked to its application. So Maya will have its own manifest in this folder, manifest, and the same can be said for M2A. We have manifest for it, Bifrost, and Substance. So if we navigate and we go to this manifest folder, we need to go back to our Maya installation media, go to the manifest folder, and you will see we have all the manifests here for each of those components. Let's open Maya. So again, we have the same structure here. We have the identity portion, resources, configuration. We don't really care much about these. We're always interested in the packages component. In this case, the same structure for Maya. We have core components, which is the core, Maya, and Maya itself has another manifest, which is pkg.maya.xml. This will call the Maya MSI, the Maya 2020 MSI. And then there are essential components. These components are part of this. We cannot remove these because these are part of Maya. If we go deeper and we go navigate to this folder, x64, we go back to installation media, we go to Maya, and here you see this is the folder where we have our MSI. We open the XML from Maya, and then here you could see the installation manifest for Maya. So it will call the MSI for Maya, and then part of this installation of this MSI, there are a number of Visual C++ redistributable that need to get installed with that. As you can see, they're all flagged as core. So this is more or less the structure of how the new OTIS installer is built on. There is this, let's say, a nidified structure that starts from the main setup XML manifest that goes down to the specific component and then down to the MSI. So it really gives a lot of flexibility in case you want to modify your installation. Generally, if you want to just remove a component, you would just do it from the UI. But if you want to go a little bit deeper and tweak it, you can go inside either the manifest, this setup.xml, or the specific Maya manifest. Okay, it seems that we have a question. I think Rainer already took it, but yeah, someone is asking if you could just install the MSI if you want to install the Maya core install. Well, this is something that we have not tested, basically because you will lose all the functionality of the OTIS. I mean, in the past, you would just you would call the MSI in case you don't want to go through this setup exe in the old installer. In this case, all this really gives you the functionality through the command line. So, and that goes through all this in any case. So you would not be able to run, as far as I know, you would not be able to run the MSI, but I would be happy to prove wrong in case it works. Bottom line, we have not tested it. We don't really recommend it because it's really a streamlined process, either with the UI or the command line. All right, so so let's say we want to run an installation of Maya. So this would be the Maya 2020 browser download installation media. You have all the files. It's around probably a few gigabytes. There's also the web installer version, which is much lighter, as you may know, if you have had the chance to run it. The only difference is that the install now will download the components that you actually need when doing installation. In this case, for deployment, we always recommend to use the browser download. So let's run a test install. So we can really see and show you how fast it is. Now I'm running it on my local laptop. It's not a virtual machine, so should be quite fast. Okay. Okay, as always, accept legal agreement. Can change as always our installation folder, leaving it as default. And here, as said, you can go through and remove or select the component. By default, they're all selected. So let's just try to install with everything included. I want to show you how it works once we have Maya ready and we can launch the application. So I already have everything locally. I don't need to download anything. While we're waiting, I would show you another thing. So all this is a different component, as I mentioned before. So it will install parallel to your application. And you can easily see in the installation media that we have an OTIS folder. And from here, you could see that we have an Autodesk OTIS installer. So this is run during the installation. Right now is running for Maya 2020. So it will run separately, and this installer is what's delivering the installation later on. Sometimes we received a few cases where the installation will fail due to an antivirus. So as always, recommendation is to make sure that you disable antivirus to isolate any issue. And that should go through easily. So in that case, we had to reinstall OTIS from here, but that's really like some edge case. OTIS is generally installed under the program files, and perhaps I can already show you if we go to program files. We have the AD OTIS, and you see we have a V1 folder. That means the first version of OTIS. In the future, we might have other version that the installer will always refer back and will always use the latest one when it's delivered. And from here, you can even remove all this in case you want to later do a clean uninstall. Another interesting part is that the location of the log file. Now we're going to see it in a second after the installation is done. In the past, you would get the installation log in the temp folder, but with OTIS, we'll have a different folder, which is usually under the specific user profile. In our case, it would be to local app data. Under Autodesk, OTIS, we have different logs. Now, the main one would be the setup log, and the more specific one in the install log. We have a number of other logs that are more difficult to read, but in that case, it's still, in case you get an installation error, we strongly encourage you to open a support case and provide us with a copy of this folder with all the logs included. The reason for that is that it's still under development, so some errors may not be easily readable. We will give you a small overview of what are the common errors. But in any case, and we strongly encourage you to send us always a copy of these. In the temporary folder, we may have some other logs, but those are strictly related to either OTIS install. This will be the really the installation of OTIS itself, or MSI logs. So usually are not necessary, but you may find something here. Okay, so we'll continue a little bit with the presentation further. We'll wait a little bit here while this is ready. Okay, I wanted to go over a little bit on the deployment function. So for the deployment itself, in the past, you remember we may need to go into the setup XZ and then run the deployment the deployment creation tool. With Maya 2020 is different, and OTIS delivers a different approach to deployment. And it all boils down again to the manifest. So you can change your manifest, you can tweak it, you can customize it, and at the same way you can do the same for the deployment manifest. So the deployment will run with a modified version of your XML. So usually, again, inside the manifest folder, you will have a deployment maya.xml, and we need to go through the customization of this XML to tweak our deployment. We don't need to run any tool. We don't need to rebuild any images or installation image to run a deployment. So it's usually pretty straightforward. I can show you what we need to do. So first thing to note is that we want to save our browser download Maya 2020 into a network share. So let's always make sure that we are using a unified UNC path and not a drive letter. This is due to the fact that the installer doesn't really comply with drive letter, and it's more flexible to use a UNC path. So once we save that in a network share, we open our deployment my XML, and we need to tweak a few lines in here. So first of all, we want to make sure that the installation path is what we actually need. In this case, by default, is in program files, and then we should have so the EULA status needs to be changed to accept. Down here we'll find the UPI code, and another thing we need to make sure is to install to set up the licensing. So the way to install the licensing is it's down in this section here, licensing settings. So as you may know, you may have a network license, and with it you can have either distributed single user license, single server license, or redundant license, and you have all the examples in here. If you don't need distributed license, just remove the corresponding section. If you need a standalone license, make sure to add the serial number. So in this case, we provide a template in a separate article where you can remove the information that is not needed and insert the serial number information. Perhaps I can show you what I mean by that. Let's go here. This is a template of an article that we already published, and you can see, for example, we want to install as a network license. We go down and we insert the information as follows. We provide the serial number. In this case, for network license, serial number is not really necessary, so you just provide a template placeholder serial number with all zeros, and continue with the installation. Make sure that you change your license type as you go with your customization. In the meantime, I think we have Maya installed. We actually have everything installed, so we might have missed the part. Let's see if we can run it. So it's running in the background. All right, there we go. Okay, just went to the other screen and should be here. All right. So again, the installation is usually much faster. In my case, I think because I'm running a few things on the background, it took a little bit longer. On average, I've recorded around 10 minutes for a full install on a system. So let's go back to our deployment. So I said we have the let's go back here, the licensing portion to take care of. And then after that, we are mostly set for the manifest customization. If you want to deploy or don't want to deploy other application components as Arnold or Bifrost, you can easily modify the XML accordingly. Finally, once you have your manifest completed, you need to run just a command line and call the setup exe with this command. One note is if you want to run silent, make sure to add 2 dashes. Doesn't seem to work with just 1 dash, so just so you guys know. And then the command would call your XML. If you have different XML with different customization, give them a different name and run them depending on which customized Maya you want to install. If you guys are also using a CCM, in this case, we recommend calling the installation from OTIS itself. So you will call OTIS, which is installed already on the user workstation, and then give the command line with installer.exe, and then just trail it with your XML. All right, let's go back to our presentation. All right, so this is what more or less what we showed. Another thing, just make sure you don't have any spaces in your command line. We've seen that the installation could fail. Now, as the uninstall part, usually right now there is no, I mean, in the past we would have an uninstall tool. Now it's not necessary. We just go into the control panel and install the application from there. Or if you want to do it from command line, you just need to call the OTIS folder and then point it to the installer exe, which is included in there, and give this command. And just make sure you include the UPI2 code. The UPI2 code is included in the setup XML, the main manifest we have inside the installation media. So if you open it, you will find the UPI2 code down in the specific, included in the specific tag. In this case, for Maya, this will be the UPI2 code, and you can go ahead with the installation, with uninstallation. For Mac, it's much easier. It's more user friendly. Just go into the application folder and just drop the Autodesk, the specific Autodesk product into the trash bin, and it will uninstall. With Linux, it would work more or less like on Windows. You would call from a terminal the OTIS installer, and from there give the UPI2 code and go ahead with the uninstall. Installation failure. So as already mentioned, usually a failure in the core package on a core application will be fatal for the whole installation. So the installation will stop and it will roll back. Nothing will remain on the system. Uh, um, Unlike essential package, which are non-fatal. In that case, for example, if we decided to install Arnold, but then it fails down the road during the installation, the installation will be marked as incomplete, but the core application Maya will be already installed and ready to use. So there are different levels of failure, and not all of them are fatal for the whole installation. Just the core package, as we shown previously in the manifest. So usually, what happens when there is an installation failure? As said, the log location is under the specific user profile. You will find it under the user profile, and right now is still being tweaked with better login, but we have summarized the most common that we've come so far. We hope it stays that way. We don't see many other errors. These are just the most one or two that we received so far. So usually everything that is not reported with a 0, it will be an error. One of them would be error 15. Usually this means that package was not digitally signed. Now I know that this has been fixed, so it shouldn't happen anymore. If you see other codes, usually you will see it in this template right after error code. We strongly encourage to send us the whole set of logs, so we can not only help you solving the issue, but also have it documented for future use and future improvement from our development team. And this wraps up our slide presentation. If you have any question, just feel free to drop them in the question box and we'll be happy to answer. One of the questions that came in is whether the application needs to be started as admin on first startup. We always recommend to run it with the admin rights. Reason for it is that there are different level of permission that your users may have, so make sure you're running always as an administrator to avoid any error during the install. Okay, next question is if whether the old installation method will still be available as an option. Once the software is rolled out with OTIS, it will not be available as the old installer. So the answer is no. Next question is, will OTIS be rolled out to all Autodesk products in the future? Yes, this is the plan. Although it will be phased out slowly. Right now it's Maya 2020. We still don't have a full list of which versions with 2021 will implement OTIS, but we'll keep you guys posted as we know more. It is certain that not all Autodesk in 2021 will have OTIS. But for a detailed list, we'll touch on that later. Next question, will there be a recording of this presentation? Yes, you will get a follow-up email from us with the link to this PowerPoint presentation and once is uploaded to our YouTube channel, a video recording of this webinar. Okay, no more. I don't see any more questions. All right. All right. Thank you very much for your question. And as always, I mean, if you come across a tough case with OTIS or with any other installation issue with other products, feel free to um, uh, contact us via this contact form, the support form, and we'll be happy to help. And yeah, I mean, thank you very much for joining today. And again, you will hear from us for the upcoming webinar. Once this is planned out, you will get an email. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. So thank you again, and have a great day.